The ghost of Kawhi showed up in Game 6, but the curse of LeBronto found a way to keep the Raptors at bay. This is Basketball Island. That's Fab. We got Jevohn in the house. We got Hambone. I'm Wes. Let's give Hein his fair due shout out. Hein not with us today. Off celebrating his wedding. Not able to cry over Game 7 with us here tonight. But, maybe that was for the best. But obviously, a lot to go through today. Let's start off first and foremost. Game 7 in Cleveland. No road team ended up taking one down. Why weren't the Raptors able to get to the finish line?
Series didn't start yet, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Game 9. Let's go. Game 8. Let's get it.
Series doesn't start yet, but it's over.
It's over. I mean, Raptors showed some heart, man. Like, what can you say, right? Like, I don't think any of us expected them to get to where they got. It was a valiant effort. Game 6 was special. Live on in history. I mean, there's a lot of things you can nitpick in Game 7 specifically, but I want to come off with a positive outlook. I think there was a lot of good, and outweighed the bad. I think you have like a real core that you could build around. A lot of young, scrappy guys, and Scottie Barnes' ascension was very fun to watch. Kind of it happen in real time, but I come out of this very positive about the outlook of the future.
I don't think there's anything to nitpick at. Where when you look at this series, nobody expected them to be in it, period. And they played off of just spirit. They played off of toughness and grit, and those are some of the things that were in question all season. It's tough, right? And you knew at some point the energy was going to be deflated. You just hope it wasn't going to be in a deciding game. But when you have $70 million on the sideline due to injuries, Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel quickly, we're talking about $70 million and about 40 points off of the board. It gets hard, right? It's extremely difficult. Like, you're relying on guys that were just in the G League, a couple months ago, in Jamison Battle, AJ Lawson, and then also first year and second year guys. So I don't have anything negative to say. I think this is encouraging. And if you're the front office, if you're the coaching staff, if you're the players, right, you hold your head high after this one.
Yeah, for sure, a spirited effort. The game itself, Jared Allen, right? I think he was the difference in this game. He absolutely mauled them on the boards, and they put together a good enough effort. Harden was kind of, for all the crap he takes about being bad in Game 7, I thought he was pretty good. And Strus, he did a number on Scottie Barnes in terms of just denying him shot attempts, face guarding him, kind of getting under his skin.
Headbutt.
Yeah.
Now, you could talk about some of the fouls that were called on Scottie for a Game 7. Left me a little bit questionable as to, we're talking about a must-win game for both teams, and you're calling some really soft, like, loose ball fouls, 50-50s, and that took him out of the game. And he was actually a net zero when he was on the court, so they got outscored by, I think, at one point they were a -12 without him on the court. So it is what it is. They ran out of steam.
Like, one of the things I like the most, like Darko said post-game, is we've clearly identified a reputation in the league as one of the hardest playing teams in the entire NBA. And I think this Raptors fan base probably sees that, and that's probably why you're seeing the belief in this team for years to come. It's kind of like taken on another level.
I want to nitpick a little bit.
Of course.
It's just a little bit on Game 7. I think this was a microcosm of all the things that I think we were worried about with the Raptors this season. The lack of ability to get a defensive rebound when you needed it. You made Jared Allen look like Wilt and Bill Russell, like, combined into one. Like, the guy protected the paint very well. Credit to him for that. But too many offensive rebounds, like Max Strus getting in there, Sam Merrill getting in there.
Well, Jared Allen out-rebounded the entire Raptors team himself.
Yeah, but guys, at the end of the day, we're playing with they're playing with 7 guys, really, right? So if you want to nitpick, I'd say, those guys took care of what they're supposed to do, right? You squeezed every drop out of that orange, out of this team. Right, there's not much more you can do when you don't have positional flexibility, when you don't have guys that should really be 3-point threats. So if I'm Scottie Barnes, right, the franchise player, the face of this organization, if you're Darko Rajakovic, first time in the playoffs as well, right, you hold your head high. But also it's kind of like when you go into the locker room tomorrow to clear it out, you kind of, before you leave, you probably run over to Bobby and say, tag, you're it.
Yeah.
Or, Keith Pelly, tag, you're it, because now, like, we've put the pressure on you. And if you're Bobby, those are good problems to have, right? The floor is risen. So you can only nitpick it so much when there's not much to work with.
Jakob Poeltl. I've been a defender of Yak. I mean, the contract is bad. It's bad. I liked his game at 19 mil, 20 mil. You just can't let Jared Allen go off like that. And it's just like, you mentioned 70 million not playing. can make the argument it was closer to 90 million, you know? and it's just sad, right? It just sucks. It's like, just to your point, like, they're shorthanded. You needed something. You needed a performance. I thought Jamal Shead delivered that in the first half. And then, you know, Raptors couldn't close the final 3 minutes of that second quarter, and then it all kind of fell apart. We saw it all coming. We're just like, oh, boy, it's going to snowball from here. Just needed some extra juice, knowing full well that you had a lot of dudes who are young, being forced to play up a level against a team that is supposed to win. You know, we've said it ad nauseum. The spirit was there. It's just the way it kind of happened.
And that's easy, right? That's an easy one, because when you look at the contract, you're saying, okay, you need something more. Right, and you're kind of looking right over at Jakob Poeltl. Like, you need a little bit more, right?
Come on, man.
Ingram's on the sideline. Quickly's on the sideline. You're getting the most out of Jacoby Walter. He's coming to his own. Jamal Shead, Colin Murray-Bowles. Can't say enough about those guys. So he's the one you're kind of pointing the finger at and saying, need just something. Just hold down the fort. Yeah. But you look back at when that contract was signed. I thought the Raps had gone so long without a center that when you finally got one, it's like, okay, I don't ever want to go without again. And that's what you're living right now.
Yeah, Fab, you're a big defender of Yak, right?
I mean, I say this probably every podcast. I mean, it is what it is. It's not a good contract. In fact, it's a terrible contract. And I think Bobby, if you gave him truth serum, would say, man, I really regret giving Jakob Poeltl that contract. He's like, okay, for Game 7, him and Jared Allen should be a pretty balanced battle, right? They're contemporaries. They make similar money. They're not like super athletic centers, and he got absolutely destroyed tonight. And that's not a good sign when he's kind of one of your vets, and you need a lift from.
He is the vet.
He's the vet, and you need a lift from somewhere. And I don't, overall, I think no one had a great game for the Raptors. I think Scottie had moments, but he was hampered by foul trouble. RJ ran into some difficulties with efficiency. It's hard when you're asking him to be the primary on-ball creator. It's difficult for him, right? Like, the young guys kind of showed flashes, but, like, not complete games. Silly fouls, silly turnovers. But really, what do we expect?
Yeah,
I mean, you pushed it to 7 with these guys.
You can definitely agree with that. I think what you've seen in this game was essentially a microcosm of the team and the season, where you have a number of players that have different strengths, but you have a lot of guys that have very similar weaknesses, right? And when you're putting a team together, you're kind of handcuffed in a sense when you don't have, 3-point threat or guys that can score fluidly. And today was an example of the offense not being there, and it puts a little bit of too much pressure on your defense. Scottie Barnes can't do it all.
No. Of course not.
And like 14-0 second chance points in that third quarter. A really, really, really silly challenge by Darko on the CMB foul, when you can make the argument he probably should have used it on Scottie Barnes' fourth, which I thought was kind of on the line of questionable there too. It's just like, we didn't need to y'all didn't need to beat yourselves, because I thought Cleveland really came out with force in that third quarter, as evidenced by the result. They outscored the Raptors by 19. It's just a lot of the stuff that we nitpicked earlier in the year just came to the surface in this game. And that was to me disheartening, but again, taking the macro, you love what you saw from a lot of dudes. I thought CMB, 9th overall pick, 20 years old, performing at a high level. That alley-oop was special.
Yeah, that was real.
The guy's got it, man. He's got that jam.
I'll play devil's advocate, right? If this team wins Game 7 and they advance, to another round, I think my fear there is now everybody thinks, hey, you have the perfect team. You have everything you need, and you're kind of a little bit more cautious in moves into the offseason. So I think there's also a silver lining in it where, hey, everybody knows you can compete. Everybody knows there's room for improvement. Now you take that next step forward.
Yeah, I mean, everybody looking at this series for the Raptors, I don't think anybody walks away from it being like, oh, man, we needed more. We needed nobody's going to look at this series being, oh, we didn't see enough from what the Raptors were able to come out. Of the players that were out there, all the main guys were 25 and younger. I mean, Poeltl's obviously out there. And I think it's interesting looking at Game 7, because there are other games we saw the same thing. End of second quarter, lacked a bit of polish. Game starts to slip away, and then can't start the third quarter the same way. I think it was a 20-2 run. And those are the things that actually hampered them. That's why these fourth quarters kind of started getting away from them multiple times. that's just the maturity thing that you have future years to kind of work on.
I think what we saw was that Kenny Atkinson had more levers to pull, right?
Yeah.
He just had a more of a stacked deck in his favor. He had more guys he could call on. In Game 5 it was Schroeder. Like today it was Strus and Merrill made a bigger difference. Like he just had more cards to play comparatively to Darko, and just Darko in general, man. I thought he coached a pretty good series.
I thought he was
Because
great.
the fact that you got these guys to 7, you had the buy-in from them defensively. Like, I think he extracted every drop of juice you could get out of this roster, man. Like, and if we're talking about him on the whole this season, it's an A for me. Like, 46 wins.
Yeah, 16 more.
Seven games in the playoffs. I mean, I think he got as far as you could, and 2 starters were out in the series. Like, I don't know if they win anyway. Ingram was not covering himself in glory when he was healthy. Quickly, I think obviously would have given you the shooting, but can you play with the same defensive intensity with him on the court? That's where I think there might be a trade-off. But Darko got everything he could out of these guys.
Yeah,
man.
I thought Darko had a really good season. You're talking about 60 more wins, year over year. But when you get into a playoff environment, right, for your first time as a head coach, and you have guys like Jacoby Walter, Colin Murray Boyles, Jamal Shedd. This is the first time that these guys, Jamison Battle had a game, AJ Lawson. When you have those guys that are, they step into their role, they're playing hard, they're producing in must-win games, and these are guys that have played, inconsistent minutes in the regular season. That also tells you a lot about your coach and the connection with his players. So, the regular season was one thing, but what he was able to get out of those guys told me a lot more about him.
The best way to measure a coach's success is how hard the players play, how hard they play for you, and there was no question the Raptors played hard every single game, across the board. I mean, obviously some moments where some mental lapses and you get punched and a run happens and you can't really counter it. Like, you know what? That's going to happen with a younger team. And not really like having a guy who can get you a bucket any moment. I go back to Pirtle. Like, maybe when you have a post up on Sam Merrill, you'd be a nice release valve there to hit maybe a turnaround hook shot, like get something easy. They just didn't have that. I thought RJ kind of faded as the series went along. Had that amazing shot. Obviously, he gave 6, but the inefficiencies came back because now you're asking him to be the main guy with Scottie Barnes. Like Ingram gets out, now all the attention's on Scottie. He's seeing 2 bodies, 3 bodies. Now it's on RJ. Well, they're clogging the paint. So RJ doesn't have that bag where he can kind of get any shot
that
he
goes
wants.
back to my initial point, right? That's not a me problem. That's a you problem, right? Because those guys, like, you can't expect them to have a completely different bag.
No.
Because you need it now, right? Going into playoffs when you're down, 2 starters.
Yeah.
You can't change your game overnight, right? And they're not going to. So, with that being said, right, you and there's moments where they shot the ball well from 3, and the team looked like they could hang, right? So that's more of a give and take between roster construction and the guys that you have. But I can't expect them to become 3-level guys overnight.
I want to give the Raptors more credit for being able to hang than Cleveland, like, playing down to the level of them being bad. I don't like Cleveland that much. I think they're soft. I think they pumped the Raptors in Game 7, which was surprising. There's some moments there left to be desired, but, like, I just don't like their outlook going forward. I think they got a little too many holes for my liking, but this was more about the Raptors rising to the occasion than it was Cleveland kind of getting, like,
But I think that tells you a lot, right? Sometimes we're hyper-focused on your market, your respective market, but that's a second apron team. And they still have a number of holes, right? Yeah. So no team is going to be perfect, and you got to find a workaround.
Well, with that said, I think the Cavs, they have an opportunity. If things have broken for them, Boston's out. I mean, it's going to be a competitive series with Detroit. Yeah. And then you get Philly or New York. I mean, that's not an unwinnable series if you're them. Maybe they kind of look at this as a dodged bullet and they ride it. But I agree with you. I would not be super thrilled if I was a Cavs fan right now about how they played in this series.
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit of like the Jerry West. Raptors lost, but was Scottie Barnes not clearly the best player in the series?
Yeah. Yes, without a doubt.
Right?
Yeah, he was for sure. He was way better than Mitchell or Harden, especially both ends.
Well, I think why he was also the best is, he won, and you often hear coaches talk about win the possession battles, right? Mm-hmm. He won the possession battle in terms of his intensity, in terms of like his tenacity, in terms of his defense. And when your best player is leading you in those areas, it elevates everybody's play. There was times where you look at Cleveland, everybody was too cool for school. But look at their two leaders, right? James Harden, Donovan Mitchell. Sometimes they're just, if offense is not flowing, they check out. And what happens to your team, they check out.
Yeah, I think Scottie earned himself a lot more respect league-wide with how he played these playoffs, with Americans and people seeing him on a bigger spotlight. And you know what? I'll come back to it. He got treated poorly by the refs tonight, all right?
Yeah,
he did. I'm sorry. These are soft calls to be making in a Game 7. Like, you're talking about the star of the team, and, like, you got Harden flopping. You got loose ball fouls. I just hope he can use this as a springboard for a little more respect next year, because all year he's been kind of getting, like, he complains a lot. I'll give him that. Yeah. But there's times where he's getting bumped and he's not getting that kind of like star respect. So I hope next year they look at him a little bit differently.
If he plays like this, right, at the start of next year for 82 games, right, for a duration of a regular season, I actually think this can be a top 4 team. Like this team should be fighting for home court advantage, and that could just be one seed up, one spot up in a fourth place. But now you have home court advantage, and that makes a world of difference in playoffs.
We'll talk about the Raptors' future outlook, because there is some very, very interesting salary cap maneuvers that need to be made unless they're willing to go into the luxury tax. I mean, we'll see. That's going to be a big, big question going forward. You got the 19th overall pick. You have a lot of dudes who grew up real fast in the playoffs. I do believe they can contend, but, Indiana's coming. Charlotte's coming.
The East gets better. The East is getting better. The East gets better.
I guess I'll throw this question to you guys. Is based on what they accomplished in this playoffs, have they now raised the bar for internally and externally with the fans in terms of what we expect next year? Like, I think the fan base is now caught on with this team again. The Generals, I think they kind of fell back in love with this team, and I think people have a taste for success. So that's going to put more pressure on Bobby Webster.
So I think ahead of this postseason, if you ask the fan base, how many future assets are you willing to give to bolster up this current roster around Scottie Barnes to build it better, I think you would have got a lot of reluctance. I think now that we've seen this, I think the appetite for giving up future assets to fit this team better to Scottie's strengths, I think that's absolutely changed. I'm sure the people watching in the comment section, you guys can speak to this as well.
Well, you need more shooting. You need more athletes. I think we talked about this as we were watching the game tonight. Like, a stretch 5 would help immensely.
Huge.
Immensely. Now, obviously, you're locked into Yak. Well, we're going hard on our boy, but like, it's the glaring hole.
I'm sorry, it is what it is. Like, you look at
you're
it,
handcuffed.
You're kind of handcuffed. I think next year you definitely need more athleticism if you could find it. I'd like a little more above the rim, better athletes around Barnes. Shooting. There's a lot of things you can do.
There's a lot of things you can do, and the beauty in this is that there's going to be 29 other teams. 29 teams outside of whoever wins the championship that's trying to get better as well. Yeah. Right? In the Raptors case, I think a decision has to be made on what hole are you fixing, right? Because is it going to be shooting, or is it going to be positional balance, right? And when, I look at it, there's moments where the shooting was really good and this team looked almost invincible, right? Maybe you give up some of that offensive creativity just to get guys that can knock down shots, and you have Scottie and whomever just getting into the paint, right? And that's what you live with. Or you go the other route, and I think the positional balance, you got to do a little bit more.
I mean, Raptors finished, 5th in defense this year, and Scottie Barnes was like the only above-average defender in that starting lineup.
Well, now they got CMB.
And now CMB, you expect a more prominent role for him. So if I'm looking at the future of the Raptors, I think those two are guys you need to build around. Shooting is not their strength. So how do you allow them to kind of thrive in an environment? I think you put shooting around them, to your point. 3-and-D, some athleticism and some shooting is like chef's kiss. So I think I'm very, very intrigued by Jacoby Walter. We were talking about, you mentioned needs to get stronger, puts on some muscle. His 3-point stroke looks great. He rose to the occasion. Obviously he went 0 in a playoff game and came back and banged a bunch of threes the next game. I like his mental aptitude as well. I think Jamal Shed showed He can do a lot of things. Need probably an in-between game for Jamal. Give me a floater. Give me a pull-up. Work on that three because his defense is outstanding.
There's so many question marks, right? Because what does Emmanuel quickly look like in a playoff situation?
Didn't really get to see it
as the lead guard, right?
Yes,
Brandon Ingram, right? He didn't get to vindicate himself after the start of the series, so there's so many questions that are still underlying.
Yeah, it's unfortunate quickly we didn't get to see what he was capable of in the playoffs, and that you're kind of robbed of that currency, right? Now we have to just speculate. Now, like, how would you fit in next year in the playoffs? You're just, it's a guess.
If quickly goes 3 for 6 or 3 for 7, 3 for 8 in one game, the Raptors win, right?
Yeah.
And now you're talking about, hey, you're on to the second round. So maybe you don't even need him to be a 30-minute guy in this series, but you need his ability to knock down shots.
Quickly minutes over, like, respect to Jameson Battle and AJ Lawson, but that's a different story, right?
Listen,
It is what it
Battle
is.
has torched the Cavs. We're not going to do that. He's won them games.
He's been excellent considering, he's been great. He's been great.
it's objective.
We're not going to blame anybody, but it's like, yes, like, I think to me that just gives Bobby, like, the green light to just kind of run it back. Like, we want to see who can get exposed here in the playoffs. We all had, I guess, our thoughts on who might beat those players, but I think at this juncture, going into next year, probably want to finish at least in 6th.
Yeah.
Like, I think to your point, Fab, like, the fan base is going to start demanding a little bit more. They're invested, man. They're invested in this team. Would love to see those guys in playoff settings. I feel like we didn't get enough. Even Brandon Ingram, like, that was kind of an albatross, like, for a while there. Kind of looked a little shaky. The heel thing pops up. Like, he misses, like, 2 most important games of the year. You're like, oh, boy. Like, you want to see what these guys can do in high leverage situations. Did we get all the answers? No, I don't think we did.
I hope that Bobby can look in the mirror and at least say, try to be honest with the roster and don't rest on your laurels and just say, well, Quickly and Ingram both got hurt in the playoffs or else we would have won. Like, I hope he doesn't convince himself of that. And if he has to make a move to balance things out a little bit or improve, in any of the areas we've talked about, I hope he's willing to do that.
Yeah, like, one of the things, though, they got good assets, too. It's not just bad assets. 2 sophomores and a rookie who are going to obviously be on great contracts. A lot of these young guys stepped up in the playoffs. I mean, around the horn. Which young guy on this Raptors team, like, did the most jumping off the page for you?
That was Conroy Boyles. CMB's defense alone gets me excited. I love D, as you guys know. Well, I love defense.
On the record.
Yeah.
It was said.
I love defense. I think CMB's potential is through the roof. I think he's that dude you can switch across the board. Him and Scottie wreak havoc. Dude, CMB was guarding James Harden in isolation.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from CMB, but it's Jacoby Walter for me because midway through this year, I think we all questioned. I think he may have questioned it. Is he even an NBA rotational player? Right? He was splitting minutes with and the coaches were trying. They were trying to figure out, okay, is it Grady Dick? Is it Jacoby Walter? Wasn't getting much, and then it clicks. He figures it out. So for me, and not just his performance in the playoffs and in some of his biggest games, when the team needed him most, when their backs were against the wall, and he delivered. But that whole experience told me between the ears, he's tough. He's extremely tough because for a guy to dig himself out of the hole and then perform, the latter part of the season and then on the biggest stage that you've been on, that tells me a lot about his toughness and grit. So for that confidence that he's going to have going to next season, I'm excited about.
He's got intangibles too. I love his intangibles, and you need shooting.
CMB and Jacoby both super exciting to see what they do next year. Both will be mainstays in the rotation. CMB gives you, between him and Barnes, like a crazy ceiling for defensive versatility that I don't even know if we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
No.
CMB, I think, to me, has proven his floor is very good starter and potential all-NBA defensive player. If the offense grows, all-star. Like, he could be that guy. Let's see what he does with offensive game. And Jacoby, man, 3-and-D, knockdown shooter. He, like, the way he was pressuring the ball, like, that's just a valuable asset to have. And it's really good to see both of them prove it on a good stage, higher stage.
What's intriguing about him too with Jacoby Walter is his body, right? If he gets stronger, right, he can do so much more. And if he can handle the basketball a bit more, what does that change for him? Because right now he's limited to 2 dribbles and then everything stops. But if he can get stronger, you can put the basketball on the floor for 3 dribbles, maybe a counter or 2. He's actually a really good athlete as well.
For sure.
So I think his potential there, they really nailed that one.
We left you Jamal Shed, Wes.
You know, I'm a Shed head. I've been very explicit about that. Love me some small guards, man.
Love something the way Wes loves small guards.
Gotta do it, man. Like I think with Jamal Shed, I think what you really liked is, first of all, this is a second round guy.
Yeah.
Rarely do second round players ever have an impact on your team. There's a level of leadership that I think that can be measured. Cannot be measured about him. Same thing. I get he does some stuff like he tries to sell fouls too much, a little bit loose with the ball. But he's in his second year. These are all things that I think can shore up. You know, I said it last year. I made the allusions to Kyle Lowry, which obviously I said it facetiously, but I do think there's similar hints of what Kyle Lowry did as he was working his way up. And we forget, like, Kyle Lowry wasn't a strong rotation player up until maybe his 3rd, 4th, 5th season, and he was fighting his way to like be a person in the NBA. Jamal Shed in his second year in the playoffs already proved that he can hang when called upon. So we talk about scaling up so much during the postseason. Like, what more can you ask for Shed in terms of his role?
His forcing the 8-second violation in Game
Huge.
4. That's gonna be that to me is gonna be an icon. One of the things I remember about this season was that and the reaction. And yeah, I mean, overall, listen, it was fun. It was a fun ride. I think they gave us a lot of great moments.
His first half tonight, Game 7, was like unbelievable.
He came out to play, man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We had 14, I believe, in the first half. Like, Raptors were looking good. We were looking around. We're like, they punched. They punched first. Like, the crowd was getting tight, and then it's just that last 3 minutes of the second quarter, kind of let go of the rope, and then, you could just see it. You could see the gas just kind of run out. But man, there's a lot of hope here. And I mean, listen, the one thing I like about Bobby, and I think he's proven, is that they're hitting on some draft picks.
Yeah.
They're hitting on some Jacoby Walter, first rounder, CMB, 9th overall. They got 19th this year. I'm very curious, which direction they decide to go. We haven't talked Grady Dick. So he makes about $7 million.
There's not much to say about him right now. The guy couldn't get into any games.
Couldn't get into his games. Shot kind of fell apart. Lost his ability to shoot the basketball, which is unfortunate considering you're kind of a black hole.
That's exactly what you needed on this team.
And you look at the salaries, man. You look at how that shapes up. That's $7 million that you can really, really use, especially if you want to keep RJ. I think RJ's earned the benefit of the doubt in this playoffs.
Sure.
I think you got to bring him back because he's got some toughness. I think he has some leadership skills. Another thing about RJ that I really liked was he's the one doing all the media availabilities, shoot-arounds. He's putting his chest out there. He's talking. He's taking the leadership role. I think his teammates love him. He showed me a lot. We've been critical, and don't get me wrong. Listen, man, it's playoffs will tell the tale.
Very mature of you.
We've said it.
Listen, I'll say this with RJ, right? He's not the perfect player, right? But he's taken a lot of criticism. A lot of people have been very cynical with him, and even coming in for the last 2 years, he's been hearing, "Hey, you're going to be on the trading blocks. You're going to be on the trading blocks."
Sure.
Not easy.
But yeah, it's definitely not easy. But I think when you end that conversation, you have to say, one, he's a competitor, right? And he's ready for the moment, right? And he's a guy that you want to go to war with.
Yes.
So you can say what you want, but you have to end the conversation that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
The intangibles. It's the intangibles for me. I think his teammates fight for him. I think to me that's very clear. He was the only dude really that showed some like pretty overt toughness in this series too. Like, he's shoving people. He's getting to people's I almost swore there, Riz. I held back.
He did a credible job of guarding their centers.
Yeah.
For most of the series. So
and I was waiting for Allen at some point to finally figure it out, and it took him until Game 7.
Jared Allen telling someone to go home. Like, Jared Allen's punking you. Like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I get it.
Come
for
on,
sure.
man.
Cleveland.
Come
Well,
on,
look,
bro.
Cleveland.
I'll wrap this up, all right, by quoting Gordon Gekko, because I'm a business guy from Wall Street, okay? Like to say greed is good. That's the famous quote. Raptors fans shouldn't be greedy. They should not be greedy with this. I know we all wanted them to get to the next round, but without a doubt, this is an A+ result for the Raptors to get to 7, to make Cleveland look the way that they did, and for the Raptors to develop and prove this identity that they absolutely are here to stay. So, I had to A hat tip to the Raps for really coming out strong, especially with 40% of the starting lineup not out there. So, credit to them. But that wraps up this episode for Basketball Island. That wraps up this episode. That wraps up the Toronto Raptors season. We'll be back later this week, though. We'll go through one final one, just looking at how everything went and project out forward. But as always, you know where to find us. Come find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back at it with another one for the rest of the NBA playoffs.
Like and subscribe.